Ladies and gentlemen, this just got posted a couple of hours ago, and we should talk about it because Outsiders is the name of our next full-on draftable set, and we're getting it on March 24th, 2023. We are going to the pits, and that means a lot of things, a lot of very, very cool things. So let's quickly talk about it. If you missed this announcement, well, check all the socials that are connected to Flesh and Blood. All the Fab TCG socials posted this a couple of hours ago at this point, and it says this: Flesh and Blood delves down into the pits, the sprawling web of underground caverns and canals, home to all manner of backstabbing and skullduggery. Outsiders releases March 24th, 2023, as you can see there on the screen, but pre-release is in stores worldwide March 17th through 20th. And yes, this is a full, complete draftable set. We can assume that we're getting new heroes in this that we can then go about drafting. We can also possibly assume that we're getting new talents to go with those heroes, and that is very interesting. That could make some very cool stuff happen within the game if we're getting new talents related to some of these classes that we can speculate that we're getting. First things first, though, I do want to talk about like this area that we're guaranteed to be going to called the Pits. So the Pits is an offshoot or an undercity, if you will, connected to a place called the Metrics. Metrics is this hugely industrially advanced city. It's like a metropolis that highly encourages ingenuity and invention, and it's very steampunk-esque. People are experimenting with new technologies, and all of these sort of underbelly offcast of society makes their way down into the pits below, which is a lot more rough and full of danger, toxic sludge, and terrifying abominations that have been spawned of, well, let's just put it this way, failed experiments, I guess. And the city bears the other side of its face when you enter into the pits, and that is where we're going. Now, the question becomes, if we're going to the pits, which is sort of inexorably tied to Metrics, are we going, to both? Are we getting a Metrics versus Pits set that kind of everyone assumed we would be getting? That's the interesting question, because if we are, then we can speculate on what classes and what maybe even talents we would be getting. So, for example, if we're going only to the pits, well, we can assume that we're going to be getting more Assassin cards because they just released Assassin. And Arachne, who I'm using as the background here, they are an Assassin from the pits. In fact, they are from an organization that runs within the pits called the Spider. So we can assume we're getting more Assassin cards. We can, of course, assume we're getting more Ranger cards for a couple of reasons. One, because obviously Azalea is a Ranger, and Rangers pick up these contracts just like Assassins do, and they go about, completing them, which could be very interesting because this would be a way to get contract cards in other classes, because Azalea picks up contracts and then fulfills them, gets paid, that sort of thing. So we can assume that we'd be getting Ranger, but the other reason we can assume that is because my good buddy Jim over at Fab TCG Cards, he talked to James White in the World Championship line, and James said, aim counters are the first step towards going about fixing Azalea and the Ranger class, and that there would be more developments in that front this year. So we can assume that Ranger is in this class alongside of Assassin. Now, what else we might be getting? Well, that leads to this art here, because the art here definitely depicts someone wearing a lot of different pieces of equipment and armor, basically collecting a lot of things, going about maybe, I don't know, possibly selling or peddling their wares. We can see like the like teapot looks like the teapot from Volcor, and where was it? The necklace that's around this person's neck looks like a necklace that might be worn by a brute, which is kind of funny. Of course, we have like a clockwork watch hanging off the side. We've got some like brute style stuff on the back, on the top there. Got like a tank that I guess they're like probably jet booting or rocketing around, which is pretty cool. So this to me strikes me as someone who might be like a merchant that could be selling things. Like that weird helmet that doesn't quite look like it fits within the steampunk aesthetic might be something you could purchase. And if it is, well, that could also lead to potions, amulets, and other items becoming a lot more useful and synergistic, which is quite interesting because I've recently been playing a lot with the old potions from Everfest and amulets and other items and talismans and things, trying to make them work with Blitz Kano. Anyway, all this to say, we could be getting metrics as metrics. We could be getting merchants as an accompaniment class to this set. Now, that one seems a bit more of a stretch, but if we are going into both a metrics versus pits set, then this is a slam dunk time for us to fill out the mechanologist class. Now, if it's a 3-class set, then you would go something like mech, assassin, and ranger, which would be kind of cool. If it's not a 3-class set, then you could include another class. But what other class would you want to include? That's the really interesting thing. So leave a comment down below if you have an idea for a 4-class set, the 4th class. What do you think it would be? Put it down in the comments below, because I'd really like to know what your opinion is on the subject. If you have an idea for what the 4th class would be. I personally hope it is a 4-class set because I like drafting 4-class sets over 3-class sets myself, 4 hero sets over 3 hero sets myself. But we will see as we close in and get closer. Now, as far as speculation is concerned as well, the next logical thing we should ask ourselves is, when this set releases around March 24th, what kind of events are we going to be seeing alongside of this? Because in previous sets and previous set releases, we've seen either a set get released and there'll be a major event kind of tagged alongside of it, or specifically made for the release of that set. So for example, most recently with Uprising, we saw like events fire around the world with Uprising sort of like pre-releases almost, where you could go and actually draft Uprising places like Vegas or Australia, that sort of thing. I think the other one was Madrid, which is pretty cool. Are we going to be seeing things like that? Now, that's an interesting question because we have not seen a roadmap for, organized play yet. We've only seen, this announcement for next year and some vague talk about PvE possibly releasing, and maybe some like heavier support for like UPF, things like that. Outside of those kind of like hearsay conversations that I've, heard or been privy to, there hasn't really been talk about OP for this year. We can assume, of course, after the success of, the Pro Tours and the World Championships, that we're going to have another cycle like that. And that would also include more regional events like callings. So it could be that after, we enter Road to National season, which is coming around the corner at the end of next month, which is the end of January. After that, we may go into a season where we prep for callings, or we may have battle hardens that kind of fire off, and then like the first calling of the season could coincide with like the release of Outsiders. And in doing so, they could hold what is, I still think, the most successful and exciting event of all time, and that was the world premiere of Tales of Aria. They can hold a world premiere of Outsiders, and in doing so, give everyone the opportunity to play sealed Outsiders before the calling the following day. Of course, you fire that off in something like Vegas, where you could pull a lot of people in, like they did previously, and you could have another hit on your hands. That is still to this day one of the most fun experiences I've ever been privy to. That many people all clamoring to get their hands on a new set, all firing it off at the same time. That would be electric. So I'm very much hoping that we get some sort of announcement of like, oh yeah, hey, it's going to be a calling alongside of it and a world premiere of it. Oh, that would be so hype. I would absolutely love that. And I haven't necessarily made a video on this thing, but I think this aspect of it also makes me very excited. The way that Dynasty functions right now feels very much to me, and I'll make a video on this probably later, it feels very much to me like it was almost tailor-made to support or prop up PvE and Ultimate Pit Fight. Based on the way that a lot of the cards are functioning or worded or can be played, those two formats in particular feel very much supported by Dynasty. And I know this is like the stretchest of all stretches. Okay, look. If we're going to the pits, if this set did something to support Ultimate Pit Fight, I would laugh so hard. Like, I know the people at LSS absolutely love their wordplay in the best of ways. And so if this somehow had a tie, I know people aren't going to like this take. I know, because Ultimate Pit Fight's not the most popular thing, but it's really fun. And all of you who haven't played it need to play it before you judge it. But still, if it had something to do with Ultimate Pit Fight, that would blow my mind. It would be absolutely amazing. I would love every single second of it. So I am desperately hoping that there is some, even if it's just like a threadbare tie, just because we're going to the pits, that I really want like Ultimate Pit Fight to be like something that they push with the set. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but you know what? Either way, if there's a merchant in here that completes the merchant cycle, I'm still rooting for that. If there's an assassin with more assassin cards, if maybe there's like a talent version of Azalea, because I think that would be like the perfect like redemption arc for Azalea. That would be hilarious. It's gonna be interesting if they throw mech in there so that we can get some nice cool like conflict between metrics and the pits. So we get a little mechanologist love as well. And people are gonna eat this up. I'm excited to find out how they plan to kind of like implement this and what we're gonna see in this metrics/pits set. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I am very curious to hear your thoughts, your speculation, your excitement, and whether or not we're going to get this alongside of a major event with like a world premiere event tacked on. If you got something out of this video, if you enjoyed it, feel free to make this number right there go to the larger one, and then we'd almost be halfway to 12K, and that has a nice ring to it. As always, thanks for watching.